Welcome to another episode of Season 7 Pages Lessons. If you identify as someone who is ambitious, goal-driven, and a badass, you've come to the right place. As a life coach, I made it my life's work to help goal-getters just like you overcome any obstacle as it relates to going after what you really want and making an impact along the way. As this season is titled Manifesting Your Dream Lifestyle, in every episode I will interview a guest who gives their unique perspective and wisdom around manifestation techniques, advice, and sharing empowering stories that will inspire you to never give up on your dreams. If you're listening to this mini-series, perhaps you feel a tad stagnant in your life because maybe the goals and desires have not come true yet. You may feel self-doubt because the dream lifestyle has not even happened yet, even though you have tried so hard to work on it. Don't worry, I've been there too. And this season will truly change your life. I know that's a bold statement, but I really mean it because I'm asking my guests specific questions with you in mind. My hope for this mini-series is for you to start manifesting with more ease and trusting yourself in the process. While I have personally manifested several things in my life, which is why I'm so passionate to dive right into this topic, I would rather add more value to the show by interviewing these experts because they are very intelligent and inspiring people. Please make sure to review the show notes for every episode because I created specific timestamps of each question so you can easily access the manifestation techniques, tools, and expertise. By the time you finish listening to every episode, you will walk away with at least one thing to work on, whether that's a journal prompt, an activity, something relevant for you as it relates to manifesting the life of your dreams. If you're ready to debunk some manifestation myths, gain some clarity on your next steps, then let's dive right into the magic. Our guest today is Elizabeth Jacobson, an experienced educator, certified life coach, and freelance entrepreneur who radiates positivity and is fueled by 15 years of childcare expertise and a touch of luck. Through a wide variety of careers, living situations, and locations, Elizabeth has manifested a life she is very proud of. Elizabeth is the first to admit that although she has made plenty of mistakes along the way, she genuinely wants to support people in their dreams while helping them avoid similar mistakes. Elizabeth is a certified life coach through Your Infinite Life Training and Coaching Company with freelance entrepreneurial experience in the fields of childcare, education, community organizing, and home and family management. She was born and raised in San Diego, California, and is currently conducting an extensive exploration of various states throughout Mexico to find her new ideal home. Elizabeth channels her eclectic range of careers, skills, and hobbies into teaching all of humanity. Elizabeth has pursued several careers in just the very short time that I've known her these past 4 years. But the coolest part is that they were all acquired without an interview, without a resume, and not really even experience in that specific field. That's what makes Elizabeth so amazing and unique, because throughout this episode, she's going to share with you her career journey and where that's landed and the skills that she's used to get those jobs. And also, I really love in this episode not only her positivity and optimism, but just how down to earth she is of moving with the flow, like really accepting where things are at, where she can shift, and her self-awareness is incredible. So Elizabeth and I really talk about the value of community in this episode, and community isn't something that honestly is talked enough about with manifesting your dream lifestyle. So I'm so excited for you to learn more about that. Elizabeth and I started our relationship. She was a client of mine. I was helping her with some career coaching. And over time, that's just blossomed into a beautiful friendship. And she's been a huge part of my journey moving forward, moving to California, creating my own lifestyle. She's been a very big part of that. And I'm so excited to dive into this episode and for you to learn more about her and how she's manifested careers, living abroad, and ultimately living her fabulous life. So let's dive right in to this episode. Hey, Elizabeth, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing really well. How about yourself?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for asking. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the show and talking about all things manifestation. I'm glad you're
Mhm.
here. So, for the listeners, could you just give a little bit of background on where you're at, who you are, what's up?
Super doable. So, yeah, for anyone just joining in, my name's Elizabeth Jacobson. I'm a 30-year-old female, she, her, currently living in San Miguel de Allende, but ultimately working on finding where in Mexico I want to live. Um, Outside of that, doing a lot of swimming, hiking, walking, exploring culture. Oh my gosh, the food here, so much cooking, and just enjoying every minute of culture I can soak up.
I love that. Amazing. I love just your lifestyle and that every time I talk to you, I don't really know what's going on, but in the best way because you do have honestly, like I know like we're all living our lives, but you do have your shit together. You are an incredible person. So like even if your lifestyle looks like what? You're very put together, you're confident, so like it all works out, really.
Thank you so much for thinking so. It's definitely a very different lifestyle than I had planned. I thought it was going to be like more of a 9 to 5, buy a house, like picket fence and a dog. It's none of those things.
Man, that's okay. We love variety. It's the spice of life. So it pretty much segues into this season of manifestation and creating a dream lifestyle. And that's what I promote with my clients is you can have more, there's more to life than a 9 to 5. 9 to 5 is great too. If you love that, awesome. But there's more variety out there. So just want to break down for my listeners that every episode of this particular season, I'm going to interview guests on their manifestation stories and maybe some tips and tricks that have helped them create the life that they've wanted. And so my goal is to really address as many manifestation topics as I can and to, I could talk about my manifestations all day, every day, but I'd rather bring on different guests to share their unique perspectives and points of view. So let's get right into it. And Elizabeth, the first question that I ask every guest is tell the audience in your terms, how do you define manifestation?
So for me, manifesting something is bringing it into reality, right? You are actualizing it. You are bringing something into existence. Anyone can come up with a goal. Manifestation is not just a goal. This is how is it going to happen? How are you going to persist? Knowing that you're not going to give up, right? For me, it's a change in mindset, lifestyle, and doing whatever needs to happen, like living the life you need to live to make this belief a reality.
Mm. So, does it start with the thought and then it transitions into reality, or what's been your process or experience?
My process is definitely a little bit unique, right? I'm a really extroverted person and I know that about myself. And I have found myself in all manner of careers and jobs in my life. And usually manifesting for me is first stopping to notice that I don't like the way something is, that currently the way something is not working for me and that needs to change. And you can go about life and need things to change and just continue to go about life and never actually change them. So to take a moment to be like, hmm, I cry on the way to work every day. Maybe I should look at that for a little bit. Like that's step one. Look at what's not working.
Mm. And what would be that kind of, I guess, for folks that they can acknowledge it's not working, but what would be that next step for them to actually do something about it? Because we can complain and complain and complain till the cows come home, but what's it gonna take to actually make a change?
That is such a real question. Oh my gosh. So for me, going from, hey, I don't like the way things are to, okay, I want them to be this way is like just not even a feasible jump, right? That is asking me to jump the Grand Canyon. It's not plausible. So instead, I like to think about what I don't want because it's a lot easier for me, right? Like when you're thinking about what you want to eat, even if you don't know what you want to eat, it's a lot easier to be like, I don't want tofu. I don't want salad. I don't want a smoothie right now. But it is like, and then you can kind of narrow your way down. So even if you realize that you don't like something, that doesn't mean you have to have all the answers of what you do want and where you're going to go next and how you're going to get there. Maybe just start thinking about, okay, well, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And like narrow down your choices.
That's really helpful. I like that. And it kind of goes along with the lines of what I really like to practice is if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. So being
Love that.
very clear with your hell no's. Like, I definitely don't want pizza tonight, right? I definitely don't want a 9 to 5. I don't want this type of relationship anymore or people that treat me this way. So, yeah, I think to your point, we may not always know exactly what that next step is or what it is we wish to create, but we know what we don't want. That does seem to be easier. That's a good point.
Definitely.
So I've known you for probably 4 years for sure, since the pandemic. And I know that you have manifested a lot of different jobs. And so when I first met you, we were doing career coaching together, and you stepped away from a job that really encompassed your entire life. And, that was a really big moment for you. And then just every year, the more I talk to you and change and grow, like you've created all of these different amazing job opportunities. So what have you done with your career since then?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good reminder of where I've been and where I've come to. So, yes, when we first started talking, I had left a job that encapsulated my community, my job, my living situation. And I found myself 6 months into COVID with none of that all of a sudden. So, definitely there was a point in there that I consciously had to realize that I didn't want to climb a corporate ladder. And instead, I wanted to collect a bag of skills, right? That just sounded so much more fun to me. So from then, I've collected all kinds of skills at all kinds of fun jobs, everything from home and family management to working at the same school as my partner as educators, to working as the executive assistant to the CEO of a major fitness company, to doing part-time work with other friends who have different companies and just need a little bit of support sometimes. So for me, having a lot of careers has really encompassed knowing my community, knowing what I'm good at, and knowing what I want to learn or what sounds interesting, you know?
Mm. So you definitely had, have, whatever, past or present tense, this mentality that I think a lot of people don't, which is people tend to latch on their career as their only identity. And maybe you felt that way at one time. But as you're sharing with me these different industries, and I love that term, collecting a bag of skills, that takes a very confident kind of person to roll with those punches. And I just feel like kind of going back to this identity piece, and when we're manifesting things, we do have to look at our own identity of where are we, who are we, and who do we want to become. And then, of course, career is a big deal because it's how we make our living. It's sometimes majority of the time we spend if you're working 40 hours a week, for example. So I think my question to you is, was there a light bulb moment of like, I don't want to, with the corporate ladder, for example, and I'd rather do this instead. And, were you just really open-minded from the beginning, or what was that transition like?
Oh my gosh, that transition was ugly, bumpy, full of mistakes. Like, talk about a lessons learned moment, right? When I first started my career, I mean, my first career out of the gate was running my own business. So there was just ample opportunity to get it wrong. And I did so consistently. And really, what I learned from looking at other people in my community, asking people about the jobs they were doing. Like sometimes it literally meant hearing someone over the phone or seeing someone in real life doing a job and being like, do you like your job? Like, what do your days look like? And little by little, I was able to figure out, okay, I'm not a morning person. Any kind of job that's going to need me there at 8 a.m. every day, we're going to have to take those off the list, right? I'm a super social person. So any job that's going to throw me in a cubicle by myself, 9 to 5, probably not going to work. And it's kind of that slow ticking away of what I don't want that helped me realize, okay, there's some options here. That was a big step. And then another thing that I've been talking about a lot this week has come up is I did not realize how many jobs exist in this world that I didn't even know about, right? Like my parents kind of grew up working class. And so the jobs I saw were working class jobs. And I knew people went into big buildings and did stuff all day, but what they were doing was just a complete mystery to me. So for me, utilizing my community and sometimes just asking people in real time, like, so what do you do? Like, what are you paid to do every day?
Yeah, it sounds to me, just if I were to kind of summarize a little bit, but it just sounds like there's a lot of knowing about yourself. So the self-awareness, continuing to name what you like, what you don't like, has really shifted in that career pillar of your life, right? Like how you said, I'm extroverted, I'm this, I'm that. So maybe these are more aligned. And then you also mentioned, I don't even know what's out there unless I ask my community and start asking the questions. So it sounds like there's knowing yourself, there's being open-minded and being curious, and then actually asking. Because you can like sit and ponder, but like never really take the step. So yeah, it sounds like there's multiple levels to this.
Definitely. And I think a huge thing in that obviously is knowing yourself. And that's a lifelong topic that could have its own podcast and not even its own season, but its own podcast. But on top of that, taking time to experiment and figure out what's right for you and know that if you get it wrong, right, you're not locked and loaded for the rest of your life. You can change, you can make mistakes.
That's beautiful. Yeah, just normalizing change, whether that is career. I know that's like a lot what we're talking about because that's a lot of things you've manifested. But just normalizing change in general and how our identity is going to shift over time, especially the things that you get or you don't get, the things that manifest or don't manifest is going to shape you.
It's so
Um,
true.
and as a career coach, that's when I first started my business, and now I'm a more holistic life coach. But when I was career coaching specifically those clients, and I was helping them with their job search, I was helping them with interview prep, resumes, all of that stuff. There was a lot of tangible tasks that I asked my clients to consider, especially just that job hunting phase. It's very action oriented. And so I want to ask you to tie this in, what is the difference between manifestation and goal setting?
That's such a good question. I love that. For me, a huge difference is passion, right? I might set a little step goal on my Fitbit to like hit 10,000 steps every day, but that does not mean I am passionate about hitting 10,000 steps every day, right? When I have something that I'm trying to manifest, it becomes a passion, right? It's not a hobby that I'm spending a few hours on every week. It's something that I'm encapsulating and bringing with me everywhere I go, right? It might look like when I'm going out for groceries or running an errands, I'm just kind of casually scanning and looking at what opportunities, right? If I'm trying to manifest a job, what opportunities are around me? I might be asking someone in the store that I run into or in the world that I run into, what do you do? Do you like it? Like, what's great about it? It's this passion that you're bringing with you everywhere you go so that when you do meet someone new or learn something new, you're automatically thinking, how can I connect this to what I'm trying to manifest right now? Right? It's really not a series of, week one, think about what you don't want. Week two, think about this. Week three, think about this. It's really more of a lifestyle of how do I integrate this thing I want into everything I'm already doing? And a great example of that for me is like living a healthy lifestyle, right? So many people are trying to live a healthy lifestyle, and it's not that everyone needs to eat this one food or do this one exercise. Everyone does it a little bit different, but they're bringing that everywhere they go. They're thinking about what's going in their body, what's coming out of their body, how their body feels, and what they need next to continue being successful or to put themselves back on track.
Hmm. So if in order to manifest, and it sounds like you're tying in your passions, there's feeling involved, it's your why, you're getting really lit up about it. Because why else do
Definitely.
you want to manifest if it's not going to make you happy, or you think, I mean, you think it's going to make you happy, right? You think it's going to make your life better. Yeah, let's manifest this thing. It's going to make my life more with ease, right? That's what I like to think of, like why I'm even manifesting in the first place, because I'm passionate about it, or it excites you in some way. Whether the goal setting is so specific, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's tied to an emotion. It's just a step. It's just a task. Um,
Exactly.
so how can you then consciously or subconsciously involve your passions more in your life? Like, do you have any tips around that?
Definitely. I think obviously a huge step one is knowing who you are. If you don't even know what you like, that's step one, right? And if figuring out what you like is like this horrific stormy sea, and you're like, how do I even do that? Just figure out what you don't like, because that's a great starting point, right? And once you kind of have an idea of who you are, what works for you, what you like, start pursuing a little bit, right? For me, when I know that I have even a question, I'm usually taking it to my community. Why? Because I'm really extroverted and I've built this huge community. But if you're not a community person, if you're super introverted and your community is the one library you go to every week, start there, right? Read the billboards, maybe talk to the librarian. Whatever your passion is, find a way to connect that to whatever you're trying to manifest.
Hmm. Yeah, let's keep talking about community for a little bit because you're very passionate about community. You've mentioned it several times. Um, I mean, break down what community is for you. How would you define it?
For me, my community is everything from my immediate family to my partner's family to everyone that I'm right experiencing on the street when I just walk down the street every day and happen to be seeing the same faces. And community has really been this place that I can rely on, right? Just by letting my community know this week alone that I'm like, hey, I'm kind of job hunting. Two very separate people have said, oh, like I'm taking Spanish classes. My Spanish teacher said, oh, you can work here. Or I mentioned to a best friend, like, I think we're going to go to Guatemala. I don't really know what work is going to look like. And she's like, oh my gosh, I happen to have stayed at the best hostel in Guatemala. They rent out rooms for couples that want to work there. Why don't you pursue that? So just by letting the people in your life know what you need, you'd be surprised how happy they are to share what they can.
I think community, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like, especially the way that things have worked out for you, it sounds like being involved with your community or forming a community just little by little is a catalyst to manifest because you are being so open to how it's going to come in, because that's not our job, right? When we manifest, we don't know the how and we don't know the when. Those are the things we need to let go of. But it sounds like just by you even saying this one thing, by putting a bug in someone's ear, and then opportunities just come from that word of mouth, from that support. It's like, oh, I manifested something so fast. I was actually thinking it was going to happen another way, but that's what's
Mm-hmm.
so much fun when things happen into reality is the how, because you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming, even though our brains think we know.
Exactly. And I love what you said about how you have to let go of the when and the how, and just, for me, it's just let your passion drive you. Just do it and believe in it for a little bit and see what happens. And if nothing's happening, maybe pull back, reroute, and think about what you don't want all over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you say follow your passions, it just kind of reminds me of like just keep living your life, like it's very Abraham Hicks of follow what feels good,
Hmm.
and just I mean, I definitely don't want to be like toxic positivity, like always stay high vibes. And there is an episode in this season about holding both, holding the hard feels while still manifesting. So I'll link that in the show notes for you to go to that episode. But still, I don't want to promote positive, toxic positivity. Like we always got to be high vibes. We always got to be passionate. No, it's definitely a balance, right? We're still human
Yes,
beings. But passion and what excites you, and when we're living in that way, life just kind of seems to flow a little bit easier than this very like rigid, oh, it has to be this way.
exactly. Like when we first started talking 4+ years ago, I knew eventually I wanted to live outside the United States. I didn't know what that was going to look like, where I was going to be ending up, who I was going to be ending up there with. But when I acquired a partner and found myself in a pretty long-term relationship, that was something that came up from the beginning because I was passionate about it. It wasn't a surprise to them one day that, like, oh, Elizabeth wants to live out of the United States. But through talking to them and other people, eventually that did come to fruition. Did it look like what I thought it was going to look like? Absolutely not. But was it okay, we're going to roll with the punches moment? Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Which kind of brings to my like controversial topic. What do you think about saying your manifestations out loud and letting people know about it versus maybe like quietly not saying them yet?
I think there can be pros and cons to both, right? If you know you're a person that's driven socially, then saying them out loud, especially to the people that you love and trust, is probably going to have a really significant effect, right? I have a BA in psychology, and we know from psychology that telling people in your life that you're going to do something will, in fact, make you more likely to do it because now you have that social pressure. But I've also totally had manifestations that whether it was because someone was going to disagree or might not have been the popular thought at the moment, but I kept closer to my heart and just thought about and still let that passion drive me, but maybe a little bit more quietly.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think there's pros and cons to both too. There's definitely people that are more rigid as no, it needs to be just this way or just this way. But we're all about balance here, folks. Like we're all about that integration. So going back really quick to community before we move on, to some other questions I have for you, but what would you say to someone that maybe is listening and they don't really have a strong community, whether they like don't have a very supportive friends and family, or they just moved to a new town, or they're really on that introverted side, and just the thought of like asking someone for help like gives them anxiety. Like how can they manifest that dream job, or manifest the things that what they want without a community?
That's so real. I love that question. My partner is definitely someone who would be more of that introvert who is not going to go ask a dozen people in their community the thing that they're trying to manifest. So, for my partner, for example, that looks more like, right? They looked up people that they knew in high school that they enjoyed being around, that they thought was cool, just to see what they were doing, right? Sometimes looking into something that you already have passion or interest in, even if you're doing it individually, can spark something new, right? From that, my partner was able to learn that other careers and jobs that they weren't necessarily thinking about were an option. So even if you're not going out and talking to dozens of people, you can still dig inward towards the things that are interesting to you.
I'm laughing 'cause it's like quiet stalking. Like,
For
ooh, what are
personal
they
benefit.
doing? Yeah. What are they doing over there? Ooh, I like what they're doing. Okay. Like we live in a digital world. We can do that. I even say as like while we're just on the topic of career, like I give that LinkedIn advice of if your profile like sucks, definitely go browse around other people's profiles that are doing the job you want. And wow, their picture looks amazing. Oh, they have all of these different skills. I totally forgot I had that skill. So anyway, it just kind of reminds me of like put yourself in that scenario as if you already had it, or the scenario of like, I want these things. What information can I gather here? Sounds like a lot of data collection for those kind of people.
Exactly. And I think that can be a huge part of manifesting too. When I wanted to manifest living outside the country, I certainly looked up certain things outside of different countries, but I didn't look up and I did not look up anything about where I'm living now, right? That happened and I was able to roll with the punches. So while data collection can be great, I think they're also kind of weighing at the same time, knowing that it might not go the way you planned. And if you're a planner, it can be so hard to just let go and release and know that it hopefully will work out.
Mhm. And you sharing that you live abroad now and you work abroad or you're looking for work, whatever. I mean, how can people, there's so many clients of mine that want to work abroad or they want to work more remotely. Maybe they're hybrid right now and they're like, "Ugh, I just want to be remote." Like how can someone manifest those kind of things? How did you manifest those things?
My manifestation to living abroad and hopefully long-term working abroad was definitely slow and anything but precise, right? I started with a hybrid job in a corporate office, right? I was working as the executive assistant to the CEO of a major fitness company. And it's not like I could just say, hey, I love working here and I'm going to go live out of the country where you have no business. So, right, what that looked like for me was looking at opportunities abroad, super saving up, leaning heavily into my community and letting people know, hey, there's going to be a shift. I don't know when exactly, but I know that I'm consciously looking for something different. Do you have any opportunities? And right, just from that, people were like, oh, you could do this or you could do that, or I've heard about this. And even if none of those panned out, it was a way for me to get out of my own head and let other people's ideas inspire me.
Okay.
And then when we finally did jump, it really did mean leaving our job, leaving our home, packing up almost everything we had into a storage container, taking like a couple suitcases on the road and real time figuring it out, knowing that we had a hard stop date for if we didn't figure it out.
Yikes. Talk about your like you said earlier, it was I don't you said it so well. But it was definitely like tears and bumpy and like that's just
Yes.
life, right? That's when we manifest our dream lifestyle. It's not all unicorns and rainbows. It's going to be the hard
Yes.
shit.
Ashley Adams on TikTok, just an awesome creator that I follow, said, it's not a jump cut, it's a montage. And I love that because everyone can picture a montage from a movie, right? You see these little building blocks happening. They might not be happening in a day, a week, a month, but you're certainly getting there. And if you take the time to celebrate even just the littlest changes, especially if you celebrate with your community, they're now engaged in your process and so happy to help.
I love that so much. Your dream lifestyle is a montage. I just want to like incorporate that because I hate the videos that do jump cut, especially a weight loss journey, because then you
Hmm.
go straight to the comments and they're like, "What's your meal plan? How did you do this? How long did this take?" And there's like no like narrator either. Like it's just like jump and you're like, "What the fuck? What talk about clickbait?" So I'm loving the like montage moment, literally of like content, but also just in practicality. Like we are the montage, we are the images. And to really like look back at the things you did manifest and you didn't even know you were manifesting. So it sounds like also this kind of full circle moment of not only do we need to know ourselves, which is like kind of key of this theme here is really knowing ourselves, but just remembering and acknowledging like how resilient we are because we're actually living in the montage moment right now. We didn't even know. And a really fun quote that just kind of like sparked in my brain is like basically the life you are living right now is at one point what you've always wanted. Even if you're like in real shit right now, like you are
Hmm.
really depressed or something bad just happened, you are still in a situation that another version of you is dying to get to. and or another person would love that situation. It's like if you throw in all of your problems in a pile, you would still pick out your problem in that pile because you have
Exactly. I love that.
yeah. So that's what I was thinking. But yeah, life is a montage and we're just rolling with the punches. And so for you with working abroad, living abroad, it's a process. I relate, girl. I mean, we're on that abroad journey and but it can happen. It's just let's let go of the how, let go of the when and being open that it'll happen for you and trusting that magic along the way.
Definitely, right? And for me, in that knowing myself, also being able to look back and bring others with me. Because when you bring others with you, sometimes they're going to surpass you and then they get to reach back and help you out. And that's just one of the elements of community that I love.
Beautiful. Well, just a couple more questions for you. Can you just share maybe one story of something that I know you have manifested a lot, but maybe like one particular story that you manifested that would be really like insightful for someone to hear?
Yeah. So I think the thing that I have the most practiced manifesting would probably be a career, right? When we first got to know each other, I had just left a career that literally encompassed my job, my lifestyle, my place of living, really seriously, everything about me. And leaving that, I was like, what do I even do next? And from that point, I've gotten jobs as personal assistant, home and family management, executive assistant, all these crazy jobs with zero resume or LinkedIn at the time, right? I got it based on the people I knew, the way they knew me, and the way they wanted to add me to their workforce in some capacity. So for me, a lot of that really started with looking at, okay, I don't like what I'm doing now, right? There was one job I had that I really cried on the way to work every single day. And it probably took nothing short of 7 months for me to like dig deep and think, why are you crying? Like beyond you're sad right now, it's 8 in the morning and you don't want to be doing this. What needs to be different? And just starting from that point. And after I realized, okay, I don't like this and I know what needs to be different, then I started just vocalizing that to people, right? I started telling people in my community, hey, I've noticed I cry on the way to work every day. So I'm probably not going to be doing this long term. What do you do? Or do you like what you do? Or do you have any thoughts on what I should be doing? And more often than not, people are so happy to tell you their opinions on things, right? Whether it's what their job is, what a cool job would be, or what they think you'd be perfect for. And then you get to take that passion and look into it a little bit, right? For me, I know that I'm this extroverted person who wants to make the world a better place. So using that as my platform and jumping into careers, whether or not they have to do with being extroverted or helping people, jumping off and making that my platform in any job is a part of me that people know they're getting. And I think it excites them.
Yeah. Beautiful. You have manifested so many opportunities. You're so positive and so open-minded, and you utilize your community. Like you get out there and you're just such a great role model for that. So I hope the listeners can take some of that wisdom of yours and just go forth, you know? Um, do you have like one little quick maybe exercise for someone like a homework or something for someone to just think about when it comes to
Definitely.
manifesting?
Yes, definitely. My first tried and true step is always to just take, even if it's seriously 90 seconds, to think about what you're doing in the moment and how you feel about it, right? Maybe it's on your commute. Maybe it's you opening your laptop at 8:59 before your 9 a.m. meeting. Just take some time to think about how what you're currently doing is making you feel. And if you realize, hey, I don't love this, that's perfect. You did it. You have acquired step one. And then you get to play the game of, do I know what I want? Or do I need to go down the list checking off what I don't want?
I love that tip. That's really good. I'm collecting all of like every guest tips and I'm gonna put it in the show notes as well. And yeah, this has been really, really great. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk about this with me, sharing your insights, sharing what's manifested for you. It's just so much fun to talk to. And I love like talking to people who are passionate about it. Did you have fun today?
Oh my gosh, so much fun. And just thank you for inviting me on your podcast. Thank you for being part of my community, right? Love all of it.
Yes, amazing. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth, for taking the time to share your words of wisdom. Thank you for all the listeners out there. If this episode truly resonated with you, make sure to share it on your socials. And I left Elizabeth's tag as well if you wanted to get in contact with her on Instagram. All of that information will be in the show notes, so you can say hello. Remember, every single day provides a lesson. Go out there, dream big, and I'll catch you next week. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you're feeling more inspired to take a deeper look into your goals, this very brief message is for you. Maybe you're feeling stagnant or ready to level up in your life. I'd love to help. I'm offering a free 15-minute discovery call where we can chat about your goals and see how life coaching can support you. This free call is a low risk and productive opportunity to get personalized guidance so you can take that first step towards living a more fulfilling life. To book your call, just visit www.paigemitchell.coach or send me a direct message on social media at paigemitchell.coach. The calendar link to schedule this free call is included in the show notes. If you decide that one-on-one coaching is aligned with your dream life journey, I offer a variety of packages and price points. We can talk in real time about what package would be the best fit for you and the next steps when you book a complimentary discovery call with me. I can't wait to connect with you and help you along on your journey. Talk soon.